Clerk will call the roll.
Glenn Whitley, County Judge.
Here.
Roy Charles Brooks, Commissioner Precinct 1.
Present.
Devin Allen, Commissioner Precinct 2.
Here.
Gary Fickus, Commissioner Precinct 3.
Here.
J.D. Johnson, Commissioner Precinct 4.
Here.
Constitutes a quorum.
Thank you. Our invocation today will be delivered by Pastor Robert White from the Freedom Church in Bedford. Thank you so much for being out here today. After the invocation, please remain standing for our pledges.
Let's pray. Eternal God, our Father, creator of heaven and earth, we thank you for this opportunity. We thank you for who you are. We thank you for all that you've done. We ask now today that you would rain down your blessings on the proceedings and the dealings of this room, and that you would grant to every commissioner and to our judge wisdom and knowledge, insight, vision, and revelation to execute in an abundance justice and equity, mercy and grace, all in favor of what you want us to do and how you'd have us to proceed in this great county, in this great state, in this great nation. We believe that you would do it, and we pray most of all for your will to be done. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you, Reverend. Thank you, Pastor. Mr. Manius, agenda announcements.
Thank you, Your Honor. As it relates to the agenda this morning, we have two issues that we want to address. First one is under the Criminal District Attorney's Office. This is item 8D1. We're going to hold that until after closed. And then second, Your Honor, if we could, at this time, if we could go to the County Administrator section, if we can go to item 8A1. And I would like to introduce Mr. Ed Bass and ask him to address the court at this time.
Thank you, J.K.
Good morning.
Good morning, Ed.
Good morning, Judge Whitley, honorable commissioners, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for having me here to appear before the Commissioners Court. It's an honor, and I have a duty to carry out this morning. When I appear, the stock show must be near.
Yes.
That's a reputation I'm very proud of. This is the 124th year of the Fort Worth Stock Show and the 102nd year for the Stock Show Rodeo. It's a historic year, and Friday will be a historic day. I think you know why, but some present may not. So let me explain. The Stock Show was founded in 1896, but it first presented professional rodeo in 1918, as opposed to Wild West shows that preceded that. It was held, the first rodeo, in what was then called the North Side Coliseum. This was the first rodeo anywhere ever to occur under roof, indoors, and under electric lights. That North Side Coliseum was the rodeo's home for 26 years. In 1944, the rodeo performances moved to the then new Will Rogers Memorial Coliseum. That was our rodeo's home for 76 years. 2019 was the last. On Friday, the Stock Show Rodeo will open in the all-new venue, Dickies Arena, for a historic 25-performance run. Now, Dickies Arena is a truly multi-purpose venue. We've already had everything from 2 sold-out nights of George Strait to monster trucks to college basketball. But now that the time has come to bring in the dirt and set up the bucking chutes, Dickies Arena truly shines. Without a doubt, It is the finest rodeo venue in America. Now, architecturally, it shows off its Fort Worth roots. I think you'll find that it has all the character and friendliness of the Will Rogers, and at the same time, it brings a whole new level of amenities, comfort, convenience, accessibility. Its technology is truly 21st century. Wait till you see the scoreboard. And its acoustics are exceptional. And I want to thank you, the Commissioners Court, once again for participating in the public-private partnership that has made possible to build Dickies Arena. You know, in particular, the transportation aspects were facilitated by the support of Tarrant County. And I'm very proud to say it was predicted it would take 55 minutes to empty all the parking lots and garages. We're doing it in 35 minutes. And that's in part thank you for all that Tarrant County did to facilitate that. Now, for the most anticipated reason I stand before you, it's to invite you to attend the 2020 Stock Show through all of its 23 days and to come as our honored guest with official pass badges that I will now present. Now, I'm wearing a pass badge. I'll show here. Each year, that pass badge contains a theme for the show. And the theme for this year's show is Dream It, Do It. And that's just what we've done in creating Dickies Arena. We've been dreaming of an arena like this for a very long time. I recently ran across some architectural concept drawings that were dated October 3rd, 1996. And what they showed is just remarkably what we have built. That's what we were dreaming, and now we have done it. I invite you to come participate. Please come join me in a grand dream. At this time, if I may come forward and present you with your badges.
Come whichever way you want to.
Well, I was seeing which order we JD? Thank you very much. You. Judge.
I think I'm going to have to take this off. So I get it on straight. I mean, you know, I don't want there to be any...
How many times have you taken that off this morning?
Well, not enough.
You know, some of us old ones may need some help.
Red goes pretty good with the purple.
Right next to it. Is it center?
This is a great time of the year. The weather kind of thought the stock show was starting last weekend, but I'm sure, I was talking to Mr. Bass, and he said he was sure that it would get cold at least once during the stock show. So, with that, we did have a ball game last night.
Really?
I have talked with my Clemson friend. It was a very good game, and at least from my perspective, it was an even better game because of the final score. So both teams have a lot to be, I think, proud of. And Clemson, your quarterback's still got another year. So it'll be an interesting next year, we'll just say. Is that one? I guess this one's mine. So with that, we will move to the approval of the minutes of our January 7th meeting.
Move approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. We have a couple of resolutions. Commissioner Allen?
We do. The first of which is recognizing Dr. Jim Vashauskis. This past Friday, before the inclement weather hit Mansfield at least, we were able to present this resolution honoring Dr. V and the great work that he did serving as a superintendent for Mansfield ISD. So, and we look forward to working with the newly named superintendent, Dr. Cantu. So with that, I will move for approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
And then the second resolution is in appreciation of Grand Prairie Police Chief Steve Dye. He has served for 35 years in law enforcement, and thankfully he will still remain with the Grand Prairie team as their deputy city manager, but we will be presenting this resolution on Friday, so I won't read it, the entirety of it, but just want to thank him for all of his service. I've enjoyed working with him over the years. I know he does great things for our county and state, and with that I move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. I will say I certainly want to echo appreciation for Steve. Again, I grew up in Grand Prairie. I've still got family there. He's done a tremendous job. It'll be even better that he's over in the deputy's office, because then he can watch over Tom Hart, who needs all the watching over there that anybody could.
Yeah.
Well, we worked with Steve when he was chief in Colleyville.
Well, yeah, that's
So
right.
he was in Colleyville for a long time, did a great job, moved from there to Grand Prairie, and
Probably another one of Hart's
yeah,
stealing.
Hart
from-
did that a lot,
Yes, he did.
still does.
Well, and I will say that Grand Prairie did name their new police chief, Chief Cesny, so, and he's already on the job, so.
Good. That's super. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Your Honor, if I may,
You bet.
this past Friday, we buried Michael Box, longtime city manager of the city of Everman. I would like to ask that we close court today in honor of a very great public servant, Mr. Michael Box, city manager of the city of Everman.
Certainly.
I don't know if you announcements, sorry.
You have more?
I have more.
Okay, go ahead.
Hello, 2020. So last week I shared with you all some elections equipment demonstrations that we have coming up in Precinct 2. Just a reminder, the two that are coming up in January is next Thursday, January 23rd at the Arlington Subcourthouse from 10 to 11:30. And then the following Thursday, January 30th from 3 to 4:30 at UT Arlington. We have two coming up in February in Grand Prairie and Mansfield. And so, of course, these demonstrations are in partnership with our elections department. It's a great opportunity for folks to familiarize themselves with the new equipment so that come Election Day, whether that's during early vote or on the day that you are more than ready to make your voice heard. Then also next Wednesday, January 22nd, the House Committee on Redistricting will be hosting a public hearing. It will be at TCC Southeast Campus at 4 p.m. And of course, two of our county delegation members serve on that committee, the first of which is Representative Matt Krause. And then the second, the vice chair, is State Representative Chris Turner. So those are open and free to the public. Any concerns that you have regarding redistricting and representation and the state's action, of course, following the census and everything that happens with redistricting, please be sure to attend. And that's it.
Commissioner Fickens.
Yes, I wanted to inform everybody that we'll be having our 11th, we changed the name a little bit to the Northeast Transportation Summit to the Tarrant Transportation Summit. It'll be on Friday, February 14th, from about 7:30 in the morning until 1:30. We've got some great speakers lined up. There's a lot happening in transportation, and you'd just be amazed at how much is happening in Tarrant County. So it's an amazing time for innovative transportation and mobility right here in our own backyard. And we're going to talk about it, let you know a whole lot more about it. So, tickets,
And
sponsorships are available at our office.
And finally, on February 15th, Precinct 1 will be presenting its 6th annual Healthy Lives Matter prostate cancer education and screening event. Our 6th annual event, over the past 5 years, we have screened almost 1,500 men and found about 30% of them to need further investigation and referral to treatment because of elevated levels of PSA. Prostate cancer is not something from which a man ought to die. But the key is early detection and early treatment. This event will begin at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at the Moncrief Cancer Care Center on Magnolia Avenue. Every bit of it is free to the public. We've already got our sponsors. Commissioner Whitley.
Send me some.
We'll talk. Every bit of it is free to the public. And just parenthetically, it's being held on February 15th. And February 15th this year would have been my father's 100th birthday had he lived. He practiced medicine in this community for over 50 years. And in fact, he was the social safety net, the medical safety net, before Medicaid and Medicare came into being. So we're going to kind of celebrate his birthday at this 6th annual Healthy Lives Matter prostate cancer education and screening event. It's open to any man across Tarrant County, and we make a special appeal to women to bring that man who is important to you. Sometimes we need a little extra assistance because we tend to be stubborn as regards our health. For the women who come and bring their men, we've got roses, we've got all kinds of activities. So everybody come. We'll be glad to see you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I went last year,
Yes, you did.
and you had a fabulous turnout and first class meeting. I was very impressed.
Thank you, sir.
With that, you have before you the consent agenda.
Second?
A motion is second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Manius,
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the court, under the administrator
did
section,
we
I was
receive and file the,
just going to ask that you do that.
okay, well, why don't we go ahead and receive and file the presentation?
Second?
We have motions and seconds. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Members of the court, we can go to item number 2. We're requesting that the Commissioners Court approve the Texas Prosecutor 2020 Resource Sharing Addendum between Tarrant County, Texas Local Government Corporation, and the various participants in that particular program.
Move approval.
Second?
We have motion and second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Court, on item number 3, we're requesting that the Commissioners Court approve the FY20 Texture Indigent Defense Software as a Service addendum between Tarrant County, the LGC, and the various participants.
Move approval.
Second.
A motion is second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Members of the Court, if we could go to item number 4. We're not seeking any action on this particular item. This item deals with the initial resettlement of refugees in Tarrant County. When we posted the agenda on Friday, this was prior to the governor's announcement that as the chief executive for the state, that he was did not want to authorize the initial resettlement. So we have this on the agenda, but we're not seeking action at this time.
I would like to have some words.
Sure.
I disagree with the governor. I think that we as a state are big enough, our hearts are big enough to accept refugees and assist them in their resettlement in this country. Refugees who are brought to this country are screened to a very high degree. They are pre-qualified, if you will, for admission into the United States of America. They are fleeing from oppression and war and poverty and man's inhumanity to man in their home countries. The United States is a country that was founded by refugees and for refugees. It is unseemly for the state of Texas to take this action. It is unseemly for Tarrant County to acquiesce in this action by not letting our voices be heard. My concerns about the governor's action are many. It precludes the acceptance of new refugees, but it also leaves in doubt the ability of the nonprofits who offer services to the existing refugees to continue to offer those services. Someone said to me this morning, well, you know, there's private sector giving that can be used to cover the cost of services to those refugees. My reaction to that is that service to refugees is a federal issue, not a private nonprofit issue. And that in order to do our jobs properly in this community, we need access to those federal dollars. I'm concerned that the action that the governor has taken may cut us off from those federal dollars for existing refugees. Further, I am concerned that should the governor change his mind, there's a lot of pressure being applied. Should the governor change his mind if we don't pass this resolution, we may just have opted out of the process on our own. And that's not a position that I think Tarrant County ought to take. Consequently, I'm going to move that we approve this consent to initial resettlement of refugees in Tarrant County as a way of protecting ourselves should the situation and political landscape change. We will be protected going forward. That is my motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Other discussion?
GK, is there any is there a federal lawsuit that is being heard like right now
I believe that there is. On this particular issue,
that would in fact overturn what our governor has done?
you know, that's the challenge in the federal courts at this time.
I'll add that I second Commissioner Brooks's comments, and I'm deeply concerned by the governor's decision. If we were to really look at this and what it means for Tarrant County, we're listed in the state as high up there with counties that have many refugees who are resettled here. Refugees are legal immigrants who have been vetted by the federal government, as Commissioner Brooks shared, and they also don't get to choose where they are resettled. Thus far, I understand that Tarrant County has been a very welcoming community in helping folks to get resettled, and there's so many great organizations that work on that effort, including Catholic Charities, and I know that they've shared some information with us today. Particularly, though, when we talk about Precinct 2, that has a large immigrant and refugee community, I see it as, to Commissioner Brooks's point, we would be irresponsible to not take action so that we are prepared for should the governor's decision change, or depending what happens in the future, we need to be ready to meet the needs of our refugee community and our greater community.
So again, I know that we have until, the deadline for this is, I believe, is the 17th.
21st. The 21st?
Okay, and were we supposed to have a letter to somebody, and then the letter has got to end up in D.C. by the 21st? I guess I also do share, in case there were to be a reversal or a decision, if we don't do something at this point in time, then we particularly could exclude Tarrant County from being eligible to receive refugees. And again, I'm going to, I guess, go a little bit with, we spent a great amount of time discussing the undocumented, and those are the folks who come here illegally, and we have a lot of emphasis on those folks who go through the proper channels, who are very deliberately vetted as to their backgrounds and all of that. And I keep hearing, okay, a lot of people come here the right way, and that's the folks that we really want to, applaud and do that. So it does concern me a little bit that we might, if he were to change, or if the court case were to come down, or if he were to change after the 17th or the 21st, then I'm not sure that extension would be something that we would enjoy. Do we have any idea from the legal standpoint whether or not, or where that would be?
I'm sorry, repeat that, Judge?
If we don't do anything, if we take no action, or if we don't approve this today, then if later on the governor were to switch and Texas was then to become eligible, if we haven't done that, is that going to preclude us from basically being able to accept any refugees?
Based on Trump's executive order, yes, sir. That would have to be another order following that to reopen that back up.
And that part does concern me from that standpoint.
Isn't this the policy that the president has recommended anyway?
Yes, these are individuals, as the judges pointed out and court members have, that have applied, that have been vetted by both the State Department and the Department of Homeland Security, and which is in the Trump administration, and they are recommending the resettlement aspect.
Right, and in that order, it states that the state and the county have to be in agreement, right? So because of Governor Abbott's actions, then that
It supersedes our authority.
Exactly. I'm not sure where the Governor Perry reference came from.
I won't speculate. Any other discussion at this time? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Members of the court, if we can go to item number 5. We're requesting that the Commissioners Court approve an MOU between the county and the cities of Fort Worth and Everman in supporting coordination for the pursuit of federal and state grant opportunities as it relates to the Everman Chambers Creek Flood Prevention and Mitigation Project. Let me say that this is a non-binding MOU. It doesn't put any more responsibilities on the county, nor is there a cost factor. It is something that both at the state and federal level will show that all 3 jurisdictions are coordinating to achieve this flood control issue.
In addition to that, the city of Everman does not have the staff resources to ferret out grant opportunities on its own. I think this is a proper action for county government to take to help them find resources and to coordinate the process. The city of Fort Worth has already passed this MOU, and I'm asking that Tarrant County pass it as well. I move approval.
Second.
Our motion is second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Your Honor, members of the court, Ms. Ward is going to present both items 6 and 7.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We're requesting the Commissioners Court approve the Community Housing Development Organization, CHODO, tax exemption in an amount of 50%, which is $6,372 of Tarrant County ad valorem taxes for Sampson Bluff Apartments in the city of Sampson Park. The Tarrant County invested $667,253 of home money to help build a multifamily for seniors and low-income residents in Sampson Park. We're required to meet our home investment by 25%. The total investment on behalf of Tarrant County for this year will be $6,372. The total taxes for Tarrant County will be $12,744. We're looking at doing this no more than 10 years, but it will meet our match. The city is putting up match through infrastructure and investment in the surrounding area. We're asking for your approval this morning.
Move approval.
Second.
Our motion is second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. The next is for the same Sampson Ridge Apartments, and we invested $800,000 of home investment funds. This is a total of $45 million project. Our total 50% of it will be approximately $16,120, and it will be for this year. We're not looking more than 10 years. Again, this helps meet our match for the home program, and the city is also putting up match for infrastructure improvements around the property, and it serves low-income families.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion is second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Tidwell.
We have 2 items we're asking the court to consider this morning. The first is to approve the release of approximately the $391,868,000 of collateral and accept the substitution as outlined in the requested from J.P. Morgan Chase attached in your court communique.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Oh, 1 second. No, okay, I'm good, sorry.
Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
And the other item is to receive and file the quarterly investment report for the period ended September 30th, 2019.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Garcia.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Members of the court. Today we come to request that you approve the proposed early voting schedule and list of locations for the March primary. I need to make a note here, a comment that one of the locations we have on the list, the Haltham City Northeast Center, sent us communication late last week that they will not be available for the primary. So we are in the process of finding a replacement for that one from the list you have in front of you. All the other sites have been confirmed and are just waiting for your approval if you deem appropriate.
I want to congratulate you for recommending approval of permanent early voting sites at all of Tarrant County's universities and colleges. I think that's the right thing for us to do, and I thank you for being responsive to that wisdom, and I will move approval of the list.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I'll just add my thanks for including the universities and colleges, especially UT Arlington. We know that was of concern, particularly for Precinct 2. And in late December, I met with President Kabari just to talk about that. But I'm glad to see that things are moving forward. And I know you'll be coming to us at some future point to discuss the general and things like that. But thanks to you and your team for
Thank you.
including those.
Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Move to receive and file personnel agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to receive and file the personnel agenda. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Vinny. Okay, it's time to get this flu out of here.
I'll be back for that, sir. Let's get the business part of this thing done first. Public Health's requesting your approval for a memorandum of understanding between United Way of Greater Houston for our 211 helpline and then Tarrant County Public Health for that service.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Go ahead.
You had a question?
Why Houston?
I think a couple of years ago, the United Way of Tarrant County was doing some restructuring, and the 211 helpline was moved over to the United Way of Houston. So they're the ones helping us for the last 2-3 years.
Okie dokie.
Yes, sir.
You know, I assume that's working pretty good because I hadn't heard a whole lot of screaming about it. But are you shaking your head no that it's?
I haven't
You haven't
heard
heard
any
anything?
concerns about it either, so
Okay.
that's good.
Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
See you in a minute. Mr. Beecham.
Don't make the man have to take his jacket off
You can show that red all you want. You need to show it someplace because
You
you ain't
know,
never going to see it on TV.
If you bleach that shirt long enough, it may turn out to be the same color. And if not, about a year ago, Mr. Bass reminded me of that. After work, I went to Fort Worth Cleaners on North Main, and there were a couple of rodeo clowns in there picking up their clothing. So they're used to dry cleaning funny-looking shirts.
Jack, there's a time when you should stop talking.
Yes, sir. We have two items for your consideration this morning. Our first item is bid award recognition for the 2020-048 annual contract for laboratory test kits, reagents for clinical testing for the Public Health Department. Recommendation will be to warn a per enterprise basis, awarding to the primary and secondary vendors as shown in court.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Last item, bid award recommendation for bid 2020-058 annual contract for voting equipment transportation cards. Recommendation would be toward a pre-enterprise basis according to the low bidder, Hart Intercivic Graphics.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. Any appointments today? Being none, then you have before you the claims, including.
Move approval of the claims, including the addendum.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the claims, including the addendum. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Briefing items, Mr. Manies?
Thank you, Your Honor. We have one item for you this morning. As mentioned previously, this is an update on the influenza activities in the county. Mr. Tenasia is here to address the board at this time.
Well, good morning again.
Good morning, Vinny.
And I will start with an apology, Commissioner Johnson. I do have a slide deck today, but I'll try to make it very, very quick. And this time I'm going to try to change things up, and hopefully technology works. We have a video at the CDC put out, and it kind of talks about how this flu works and how it makes people sick.
Flu is a contagious respiratory illness caused by influenza viruses. When people with flu cough or sneeze, you can inhale droplets that contain flu viruses. The viruses infect your cells and make copies of themselves. Flu virus infection triggers inflammation in your body, which produces flu symptoms. Severe inflammation can cause lung damage and other serious problems. Your body's immune system responds by sending proteins called antibodies to fight the infection. Some people experience serious flu complications that can lead to hospitalization and even death. Flu vaccines have been shown to reduce the risk of catching flu and may lessen the severity of symptoms. Everyone 6 months and older needs flu vaccine each year. Join the fight against flu. Learn more at cdc.gov/fightflu.
So hopefully, can I get help for the next slide, please?
Good job, Chandler.
That was on cue. Lunch on me, my friend. All right. This video is pretty easy to understand, but if there are any questions, I'm certainly more than happy to answer those. But that's just a reminder on how it all works, and every year we fight that virus, and people do get sick. So this year in particular, as you can see from the map, is pretty widespread. I don't think any state is spared. The one that you're seeing in white, it's not that they don't have the flu, it's insufficient data, so they didn't report well. So that's why we're not seeing it over there. The easiest way to not find a problem is don't count it. But, I'm sure that we have flu all across the country.
Is that Rhode Island, or what is that one over on
Virgin Islands and
you beat me on that.
No, I know what Idaho looks like. I'm talking about this one over here on the right-hand side.
Yes, sir. There's Rhode Island, I think, on the right, too, as well. So it's pretty widespread across the country. Most states are experiencing widespread high levels of activity. Some states are medium to moderate, and a couple, three, I think, are low activity, which surprised me. Florida is reporting low or minimal activity. Usually they're in the red with us quite often. National influenza-like illness picture. As you can see, the red line with the triangles that represents this current season. And it is trending, pretty similar to what we saw in 2017-18. And we just saw this week a little bit of a decline. It's anybody's guess. I mean, it could be a temporary blip and we go back up because we've got almost a month of flu season with high activity left.
Tell us where we are on this graph.
Yes, sir. So the red line with the triangles is the current season, the 2019-20 season. And the last triangle that we saw, like after a peak, we saw a dip. That's last week's data. Well, the first week of January is what this is representing. So we did catch a little bit of a break, and as I'll show you slides for Texas and Tarrant County, the same trend is observed that we're catching a little bit of a break, but I'm not quite sure if it's the start of the decline because we have about a month. Usually flu peaks in February, as you can see from all the other squiggly lines. We have some time for flu to surge back up. If you recall last week, I shared with you that predominantly influenza B has been circulating, which is unusual. Typically, that's the one that has a late surge in February. And influenza A starts to surge around early December, so that's added on to what we've seen this year with influenza B already being there since late October. So that's why the early ramp up and a peak that we've seen. Now there's been a little bit of a decline. It's anybody's guess, but my guess would be that we're probably going to come back up in February and see another run at the peak and then go down from there. But I could be wrong. I mean, it's, diseases, you can't predict how it goes. Tarrant County, like I said, had a very similar graph. We caught a little bit of a break last week. The green line represents the current season. So hopefully we'll get a little bit of break here for a couple weeks. This is Texas data. The red line is the current season. Now we're seeing a very significant drop in Texas-wide influenza-like illness. They were approaching 15.5% influenza-like illness, and we're down to almost like 9%. So that's a very significant drop in about a week. So we'll see what comes of that. One good thing about all of this, this is national data, and I don't know that it reflects what's happening here in Tarrant County per se, but national data showing one good thing this year. If you look at the orange line with the dots and the label 2017-18, that was cumulative rate of lab-confirmed influenza hospitalizations. So influenza-like illness is more a general feel. Somebody shows up in a doctor's office with an influenza-like illness. In the absence of any other diagnosis, they counted, okay, flu-like illness. This is more when you have a lab-confirmed test and the person is hospitalized. This is a severity indicator of confirmed flu cases. So 2017-18, as you can see, was above the crowd of other lines. A very severe year. Nationally, 2019-20, which is the red line, is showing that we're sort of average from a hospitalization standpoint. I don't know that Tarrant County is following that trend. We don't have that detailed of a graph on hospitalization data, but there's another indicator that we use is pediatric deaths, and we've had 3 this year, which is unusual. So I would say Tarrant County in particular is having a severe season. Pneumonia and influenza mortality surveillance, again at a national level, is showing that we're okay. We're actually below the epidemic threshold for pneumonia and influenza-related deaths. 2017-18 season, which is in the middle of the graph, had a very high peak. So it was a very, very bad year from a flu and pneumonia death standpoint. But this year, 2020, which is to the right of the graph, is showing we're doing okay nationally. Again, national data on pediatric deaths. You can see 2017-18 had a lot. 2019-20 has some, but as you can see, the last couple of weeks have trended higher. And we saw that happen here in Tarrant County in the last month or so. We had 3 reported deaths. What has happened so far nationally this year, we've had about 6.4 million recorded illnesses and 3 million medical visits that are recorded as well, 55,000 hospitalizations, and about 2,900 deaths. Now, on average, a regular flu year kills about 36,000 individuals. So like I said, there's some time left here in the flu season. Hopefully that number doesn't grow too high and we come out with a low death year for flu, but that's the average. These are national statistics, yes, sir. And again, these are based on estimates and reports, and as you can see, the data is sort of old. They had reporting from October 1 to December 28th. So we have had a whole month of flu activity to add on to that. And again, these death data are slow to get reported and sometimes don't get reported. So they work on a lot of estimations on those. Finally, what should we do as the general public? I mean, the message is the same every year. First thing first, wash your hands throughout the day because, we're people, we touch things, we shake hands, we do stuff. And we touch our faces all day long. We sneeze into our hands by accident. So definitely wash your hands throughout the day with warm soap and water. People tend to gravitate towards these gel hand sanitizers. They're a good supplement, but they're not a replacement for hand washing. So definitely use them, but as a supplement to hand washing. And then take the flu shot. If people haven't yet taken the flu shot, it's still a good time because, like I was saying, we do see a peak in the flu in February. So now is a particularly good time because it takes a couple of weeks for the flu vaccine to fully kick in. So if somebody takes the flu shot now, they have enough immunity kicked in so that they can be in the community when there's a peak of flu activity and hopefully be protected. And then staying home when sick is important, and then getting antivirals early. We talk about Tamiflu a lot because that's kind of the common one that most people relate to. But there are so many new ones that got introduced. I think I forget the name because it's a complicated salt name. But they introduced one last year, I think, or a couple of years ago, that literally takes down the flu in 2 days. So, no excuse for not getting those kinds of antivirals into you.
You forgot the name?
I did. I try to remember, and the words, I remember Tamiflu, also Tamivir, but the new ones, they have all kinds of funny stuff that's hard to remember.
Well, if any of us come up with it, you better go ahead and figure out what it is.
Yes, sir, I will. I will. And get back to you on that. What? That's the one. That's right, Zofluza. Yes, and that literally... Yes. He had my back.
Will you say it one more time?
Zofluza. Zofluza.
Okay, very good.
And I tend to gravitate more towards the generic names because then other companies come up with the stuff. So we try not to use the trademark names quite a lot in these presentations, but you're familiar with what these medications do. So that's where we are. It's all the data sources, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
I have one about, if I recall from last year in some of your flu updates, we had maps of Tarrant County and kind of. Can we include those in the future?
Yes, I will. I'll just tell you that we've had quite a widespread activity on those maps. Okay. On the weekly reports that we send out, those maps are included. Because I had some slides with videos and the time frame, I wanted to kind of keep it around 10 to 12 slides, and that's why I took that out. It was on the presentation, so I'll include that next time.
Okay, just for the record.
Yes, sir.
If you go back to that map slide, I don't want to hear from all the geography teachers in America. That was Delaware.
Delaware.
Not Rhode Island.
Okay.
That was white in that regard. So.
You're doing great. Because I wouldn't have ventured a guess on what state that was.
Well, no, every once in a while, my brother and sister, we used to have this game about the maps. And so, before one of them gives me a call and rags on me about the fact that I've forgotten the states, I just want to make it clear that was Delaware and not Rhode Island.
Yes, sir. All right, thank you.
Wait, Benny.
No, they're not. They're probably about the same distance as between here and maybe Tyler. Just remember, when you're up there, you can drive across about 4 states in 2 or 3 hours.
We've had 3 infant flu deaths in Tarrant County, and that's a very tragic thing. But it can perhaps be explained by lack of immunization in an infant. For a 16-year-old, otherwise healthy child to die of the flu is a rather startling thing to happen. Could you comment without making specific reference to that particular individual?
Yes, kind of a thin line, so I'm going to try to walk very carefully. So in general,
you can handle it.
In general, what we recommend is that anybody over the age of 6 months get a flu shot. But as you know, this is one of the hardest ones to convince people because it's so widely available. People sort of tend to get complacent. Oh, I will get my flu shot at work or at the pharmacy or at some other grocery store visit. And, we tend to get stuck in that. I mean, I've been guilty of that last year. Had cough and fever and all, so I procrastinated almost till January when I found a clean window to go get my flu shot. But it happens. I mean, we're people. The only thing we can do is make a conscious effort to go get our flu shot every year. What I recommend, and again, this is general consensus, that earlier in the season is better to get the flu shot because you tend to not have all these other illnesses floating around, so you have a clean window to go get a flu shot. Because if you have the fever and a cough, they're going to say, okay, let this clear up and we'll get you your flu shot later. And that tends to start happening when the cold hits and people start to get all kinds of illnesses, respiratory illnesses that prevent them from going and getting in and get a flu shot. So early in the season is recommended. Again, for the school-age kids, there are so many opportunities for them to get the flu shots. But again, we also are in a state that allows parents to choose otherwise based on conscientious objections. So that does get in the way from time to time. And it's unfortunate that we have these pediatric flu deaths. And again, not just infant flu deaths, it's under 18. So it's a wide variety of age range there. So it's very, very unfortunate that we have that. It's an indicator of the severity of the flu season and, quite honestly, a failure on our part and on the system's part not to be able to protect these young individuals.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
That's all we have at this time, Your Honor.
300 miles.
It's about 95 miles.
That's all we have at this time, Your Honor.
At this time, we'll recess our open meeting to proceed to close to discuss items exempted under Section 551.071, 072, 074, 076, and 087 of the Texas Government Code.
Oh, yeah.
You can stand it. When we get them, when we get ready, we'll.
Oh, UTA Mavericks.
Oh, okay.
I have a different one at each office because I stay cold. So regardless of how many layers and all of that.
Texas Wesleyan one.
I'm gonna get you one. I know people.
Having returned from our closed session, we'll now address the following matter. You're up.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Criminal District Attorney's Office asked the court to approve the settlement agreement in full, final, and complete release with Scott McCollum for claims asserted against Tarrant County in the district court.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. There being no additional business, we will stand adjourned, again in memory of
Michael Box.
Michael Box. Thank you all.